Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. Good evening to all of you tonight. Let's start with some space weather here at the Grand Solar Minimum space weather station here. Solar wind speeds coming at 475.7 kilometers per second with a density of 1.1. Say hello to my little friend AR2749. Now, the chances of this thing actually hanging around for more than a day, you be the judge. As we can see here in the last several frames, this sunspot is decaying. So it may look impressive on, say, an angstrom of 193, but when you look at it the bare bones like this, folks, we can see this sunspot beginning to decay as it starts to be Earth facing. Now, the next stream of solar wind, a minor stream of solar wind, will be flowing from the southern hole on the sun's atmosphere, expected to reach Earth on October 3rd or 4th. Its impact probably won't spark a full-fledged geomagnetic storm. Lesser geomagnetic unrest and auroras are possible, however, especially around the Arctic Circle. So, a little bit of space weather news updates as our KP indices sit at 2 and our 24-hour max is also, is sitting at a 3. TCI actually has been updated. I forgot to change that for you guys. It went up from 4.67 to 4.75. And I'll have a couple of things to add about the TCI and other things when it becomes temperature related. Mari, yes, there was one thing. Is Mr. Dr. Roy Spencer's? Okay, don't worry. I remember you saying something about that, so no problem. But yeah, I want to talk about a few things related to Mr. Spencer's work today. And a lot of you probably have a lot of questions as well as I do. So, but we'll go ahead and take care of that here just in a second. I wanted to monitor TSI, and this would be for September 23rd, 2019, 24th actually. Came in at slightly raised at 1360.669. So again, no real change that you can see in TSI at this point of the minimum. So we've been battling back and forth with that particular reading, really not going past 1360.7 or 1360.66. So it's very, very, very little change. All right. So let's go ahead and get right into it with tonight's show. Got a few things to talk about. Hurricane force winds on the way for Ireland and the UK. And check this out, folks. Mari has been working on new designs for merchandise. And some of you may have noticed an increase lately on things that are for sale, Grand Solar Minimum related. So a couple reasons for that. One, we want to help get the message out. But the second reason, why not in a good way too? This is kind of a fundraiser for Mari and I right now. We're a few $100s short of our target on our budget for, let's just say, helping keep Mari's family property in her family. We are facing a deadline by the end of this month, and we needed to make a push. So hopefully this is products that you guys would actually want to buy as far as where, and Mari has a lot of ways to find our shops. One of them, just hit the refresh button and you will, unfortunately for now, you'll see an ad and it'll give you the option to click away from it as well. 15% off the t-shirts, okay? But no, the real reason is, if we're going to do a fundraiser, let's do it in a way that can be beneficial for both sides. The fact that we have people buying shirts and hats now, and we're getting pictures of emails of the folks wearing them, that makes us super proud. For the simple fact that the word's getting out. Grand Solar Minimum is getting out. I don't know a lot of you folks out there. We probably never even met in the chat, and I get emails still of people and pictures of our shirts, and now hopefully the beanie hats. But again, don't want you guys thinking we went all commercial on you. It is going to be cold. It would be nice to have a nice little beanie cap. The product that these companies that we deal with is pretty awesome. I have a t-shirt myself. I'm probably going to order this beanie for myself. And the t-shirt is a very soft cotton, very durable, very little fading, if all. I've had it for about 3 months. So it's quality product. It's things that you guys can get behind. You support the Grand Solar Minimum. And it's also going to help support Mari and help her keep her family property in her name. All right. So let's get on to the Grand Solar Minimum news tonight, folks. Lots to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the Ilwan volcano here in PNG. Now, this happened on October 1st. The volcano erupted for a brief period of time. Very high seismicity detected since September 30th. The eruption ejected ash up to 20,000 feet above sea level, according to Darwin. Continuous plume is visible on latest satellite imagery extending southwest. Weak volcanic ash signal in RGB imagery suggests that plume of ash is poor. A hotspot is visible on the southwest flank of the volcano. And that was as of 12:55 UTC. Further eruptions to higher levels remain possible, it adds. Now, Yulwan actually blew at 63,000 feet earlier this year. So scientists are saying that there is a possibility that we will see this volcano once again erupt and possibly get higher than what we've already seen. The volcano produced a series of powerful eruptions since June 26th. At least 15,000 people have evacuated. Major stratospheric eruption was recorded on June 26th and August 3rd. Both of those eruptions were 63,000 feet. That's pretty staggering. Now, if you continue to see this kind of activity, and that's 63,000 feet, folks. And this brings me to my other point here. Look at the satellite imagery here for a 63,000 feet eruption. All right. And compare it with some of the data that was being shown to you by a couple other people out there who were trying to say a 70,000 foot plume had happened that night. Now, the imagery is day and night, literally. The footage that they were showing looked like someone had lit a cigarette in their hand and the smoke was just, barely trickling through the atmosphere. This right here looks like an explosion, and this was the 63,000 foot plume, ash plume. So huge difference here, folks. But let's move on to the next link we have here for you, and this is the famous Shivalu volcano. Yes, it exploded again. 30,000 feet this time. The last time we had the big hubbub about this volcano explosion where folks said this went up 70,000 feet. Then 15 minutes later was corrected and recorded at 23 or 24,000 feet. That there was someone read the metric wrong or something like that. But again, to clear that up, the footage that we saw was definitely not that of what we saw here in that 63,000 footage. And also, let's also note this, folks. It is not possible for a 70,000 foot ash plume to drop 50,000 feet in 15 minutes. It's not possible. And I'm just going to leave it at that. The Russian Shivalu volcano erupted at 2340 UTC on October 1st. The explosion produced ash plume that reached altitude of 30,000 feet and a pyroclastic flow that spread to the west from the active dome. Now, the reports, the eruption, the combination of a lava dome explosion and collapse of fresh material from the active part of the dome, its upper northeast sector. The aviation code remains in orange as of 4:44 UTC October 2nd. According to satellite data, an ash plume as high as 21 to 24,000 feet continues to drift to the east from the volcano, probably ash fallout from the Komandorsky Islands, the Commander Islands in parentheses here. The explosive extrusion eruption of the volcano continues, and we are seeing now depths between, they're saying here, ash explosions up to 32,000 to 49,000 feet could occur at any time. Ongoing activity could affect international and low-flying air travel. I think this is a video of it. Yeah, so let's check this out real quick. Let's get that political stuff out of there. Here we go. Boom. So there you have it, the 30,000 footer, and scientists are saying that we could see anywhere from 30 to 49,000 feet. So 2 volcanoes, with scientists agreeing at both volcanoes that we could see more explosions from this, possibly even higher than what we've already seen from these 2 volcanoes. Hail, tornado, and record low temperatures hit California in the USA. Thank you to Watchers.news. As right now, a lot of people are talking about how warm it is, how hot it is. We'll get into that. A series of unusual weather events hit the city of Davis, California on September 28th and 29th. Thunderstorms swept through the state's central part, producing dime-sized hail. A tornado was also spotted in the region. The tornado touched down at 1840 local time on September 29th. To the east of County Road 101A and County Road 29 on the backside of the storm. Meanwhile, tornadoes were reported as well, 1815 to 1830 local time on the same day near Highway 80, westbound UC Davis. Sacramento's National Weather Service said no damage was reported. The agency issued a tornado warning that day on the 28th at 1839. Robert Shackelford on the Clinton News Network, weather producer, the tornado was weaker than those of a typical Midwestern. California sees about 10 tornadoes a year, so this is rather rare for the area. They are more likely to see tornadoes in winter and spring, but it is uncommon to see tornadoes in the fall. But it isn't uncommon, I should say. Storm chaser Tom Nolan and his girlfriend Shasta Fields were able to capture the tornado on a video from a close view. Let's see what they did here. Oh, Shasta. Oh, it's a little loud.
Oh my God.
Yeah, get out. That thing just like formed out of nowhere and said, I'm coming right at you. Be safe, folks, when you're doing this footage stuff. I'm telling you, it is dangerous. I can't tell you how many times we see great tornado footage from people from other parts of the world. My God, this thing looks like it's coming right at them. Yeah, too late for speeding. Holy my goodness. Anyway, this is not safe at all, folks. Absolutely. This kind of activity here is, whew, this is intense. And luckily they were able to race away, but that got close there for a minute. In no way, shape, or form do we condone in this kind of activity here, folks. You need to make sure you're safe, first and foremost. It was just because of all the weird, rare weather we've had out there. Mari and I were watching a thunderstorm the other night. There was a lot of lightning, and she made a good point. You're like, you know what? We really shouldn't be standing out here. It's pretty bad. And with the lightning the way it's been here lately, I mean, probably some good advice. But again, record hail, tornado, low temperatures for California. All you hear about is all the high temperatures. Mainstream media wants to tell you about that. More news, unfortunately, prolonged monsoon season causes widespread. They should have had their withdrawal, I think, back on September 1st. Now it's killing at least up to 139. Heavy rains have battered the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar since September 27th, 2019, like we earlier reported, causing severe floods, which at least 139 people have lost their lives. The country's monsoon season usually ends by early September, but the harsh weather has continued and forecasted to extend up into the second week of October. River Ganga and its major tributaries, such as the Punpun and the Murray Gandak, have already swept low-lying areas near the banks and are posing risks to safety embankments in the districts of a few other provinces here in this region. I just don't want to butcher it, guys. I mean, you can read, so we'll leave the links here for you and you can read it, and that way you don't have to hear me butcher. I mean, this is a sad time. The last thing you need is some foreigner out there trying to report on the news and he can't even say the town that just destroyed your home. So I'm just trying to be a little sensitive there to the folks that might catch this overseas. Disruptions to traffic, healthcare establishments, and schools occurred following the floods. The Disaster Management Department, Bihar, has also deployed over 1,000 boats in 11 affected districts. About 900 inmates were also shifted from a prison in Eastern Balia district after rising water levels pose risk, according to police officer Santos Verma. On September 27th, the state of Uttar Pradesh had a record rainfall, which 1,700% above normal. The eastern parts of the state were the worst hit. Meanwhile, the government offered to provide around $5,662 to the families of the victims who died. Again, we'll leave the link here. Lots of damage, lots of flooding. Just, in an area where this season should have wrapped up by now. It continues. I mean, this is total loss stuff right here. Some of the stuff hanging up on the wall obviously is all right, but obviously the flood damage stuff here, that's a total loss. Just tragic what we're seeing all around the world, not just here in India or anywhere, and it's everywhere. The flooding is just ridiculous. All right, looking at Lorenzo making a direct hit on Ireland and UK with hurricane force winds. Now, I remember saying the other day, this one's going to go north. It's not going to have an impact. You're just going to see rain from it, blah, blah, blah. Well, look how fast that changed. Lorenzo lashed the Azores with fierce winds and pounding surf. Residents of the United Kingdom and Ireland are the next in line to face significant impacts. That's a cute puppy. As of late Wednesday morning, Lorenzo had transitioned into a post-tropical cyclone, was located about 950 miles southwest of Cork, Ireland. Lorenzo remains a noticeably large storm with a hurricane force winds extending outward up to 150 miles from the center, and the tropical storm force winds extending up to 390 miles. The Azores now in the rearview mirror. Lorenzo on Wednesday raced towards Ireland and the United Kingdom, while some modest weakening is forecast prior to reaching the British Isles. Lorenzo is still expected to pack quite a punch as it makes a direct hit on the islands late Thursday into Friday. Lorenzo will track around the area of high pressure centered over Spain, which will act as a shield preventing Lorenzo from reaching the Iberian Peninsula and forcing the storm northward towards the British Isles. So some of the impacts that we're looking at here: power cuts, travel disruptions, local flooding, dangerous seas, coastal flooding, damaging winds, storm max of around 100 miles per hour. That's pretty intensive, folks. Powerful winds may then result in widespread tree damage, power cuts, significant travel disruptions, as we just noted here. So Lorenzo holding it together, and this is your warning, folks. If you are in the path, again, this is one of those situations. Board up, get ready, be prepared, and follow your local government's warnings the best that you can at this point. So this could bring flooding as well and again, I said this the other day, don't worry, you're not going to have to worry about storm surge. Well, apparently I was wrong on that too. So this storm has kind of kept it together. It was already the strongest storm in the Atlantic Ocean that far east in the first place. All right. Coincidentally, or not coincidentally, it is strengthened to a Cat 5 the same night we had a geomagnetic storm. Increased solar winds. Again, not coincidence. Solar forcing is real. It controls the atmosphere and the oceans, and I will get more into that as well. All right, but just wanted to give you a quick update on Lorenzo. Major flood prompts evacuation and rescues in UK. So this is before Lorenzo. The Environment Agency in England has issued more than 250 warnings and alerts in the early hours of Tuesday, October 1st. Following torrential rains across parts of the United Kingdom, major floods have caused damaged roads, travel disruptions, and evacuations. The Isle of Man, several residents were stuck in their floor-stricken homes. Let's check out some of the footage here. Areas along the swollen Laxey River was reportedly the worst places hit. Floods swept away vehicles and prompted road closures. Fire and Rescue Coast Guard have been deployed in the affected areas as well. Check out this water. Further breach has caused flooding further down the Laxey River. Coast Guard just landing in Laxey. I'm probably saying that wrong. In England, the Environment Agency has issued a precautionary evacuation notice, flood warning for the Norfolk coast. The notice also covers coastal areas in Hunstanton, Heacham, and Snittensham. Snittensham? I know if David was watching right now, he's probably face palming himself right now, like Snetisham, Snettisham, Snetisham. We'll see. Snetsham. All right. Sorry out there, brothers and sisters across the pond. I love you still, but you know me and my pronunciation. So, according to the agency, flood warnings were issued prior to the possible flooding from the combination of high tide and northwesterly winds up to force 6. So we're already dealing with rain, high tide, flooding, and oh yeah, more rain, more flood, more wind, coastal damage as well. So the focus really, folks, here for the next few days, we will always kind of focus on the United States when it comes to these storms, but we will continue to monitor the storm and cover it the best that we can, as this area is already inundated with floodwaters as it is right now. They don't need the effects of Lorenzo with 100-mile-an-hour winds possibly affecting some areas in Ireland. So again, this is something we're going to be keeping our eyes on. Very important to keep a watch on this particular storm. It has definitely fooled me. Like I said, I thought just 2 or 3 days ago, I thought for sure this storm was just going to go north and that's it. But unfortunately, it has taken a turn, and we will keep you guys updated for everything about this. Now, there's more of our product. By the way, this mug is cool. I'll just give you a little hint about this. I'm going to click on it, but when you pour hot liquid into this bad boy, it changes to white. And on the back, it says, "Are you prepared?" So some really cool stuff here that Marius, like I said, most people, they do fundraisers. They're like, yo, send money to my PayPal. You know, I don't know why, just do it. You know, I felt like we had a really good reason to have a fundraiser, and why not? We've got the rest of this month to raise it. We're just a few hundred away from our target to make sure that the property that Mari grew up on, it's been in her family for several decades, stays in our family. So, all right. So before I go on to my next video and our weather report, I was looking for a particular picture and I didn't see it. Mario, while I'm going to do this here, let's first show you. Do you know where that picture is I sent you for the comparison photo?
Yeah, why don't you just put it on the logo now?
So let me go on logo. Let's do that. All right, so we're getting ready to talk about the UAH global temperature update for September. July and August were a 0.38 degrees Celsius above baseline. Okay, it stayed the same for 2 months, July and August. I'm thinking, okay, well, September, it's cold in the southern hemisphere, and you know, we're going to continue to see you know, temperatures begin to drop once again as we head into autumn. But we've had some hot weather in
I mean, you might have to resize it.
That's all right. Let's see what we got here. We did have some hot weather in the south. Almost, Murray. Not bad. I'll do this. Okay, so I'll try to show you guys this the best I can. At the top is Roy Spencer and his UAH satellite-based temperature of the global lower atmosphere. All right. For September, we jumped up 0.23. Believe it or not, we are now sitting at a 0.61 degrees above baseline. That's right. I'll get my big blue arrow to point at the other arrow that we're all the way up here. All right. This spike up here, actually, let me move this down just a tad. I'll move it back up. So this peak right here, this was a 0.63 back from August of 2017. This was right before we got that, well, this was right when we had that solar activity at the end of August and early September. Kind of a similar thing happens this year in September. Solar weather, which, by the way, this is where I was going with the increased temperatures in the TCI. I mean, it's jumped up over a degree, or at least 1.1 values since we've been watching it in all these solar storms. So we've had solar storms since the beginning of September in solar wind, three different storm events, 2 G2s within 48 hours, and then recently a G1. And almost another geomagnetic storm the other day when we got to KPs of 4. So we know that fast-moving particles are going to heat up the atmosphere. Okay, that's one factor into this, all right? But also, the biggest factor in this as well, this below is the AMO. And I want to give a shout out to David Birch, the Starman, TSM, Solar Observations. These blue lines line up with temperature spikes, increases in the AMO at the same time that we see these peak temperatures. I mean, look at it. So here is the recent spike that led to the 0.61. This back here, this spike right here is from, I'm gonna move that down. That one is from the August of 2017. See? All right. And then the big blue line here on this double peak in the AMO is from the peak heating at 0.88 degrees Celsius above baseline. That was in 2016. But, you know, really going back and look at all these numbers, every time we see a major spike in these temperatures, we see a spike in the atmosphere as well. They all line up. Look. There's these two right here, or these two right here. And then you have this. So, I mean, obviously, folks, this is such a complex topic. And I you know, I went to Starman after I saw the results yesterday for the UAH, and I said, what is this? You know, what happened? Because this is the warmest temperatures that we have seen for September in 41 years. I mean, look what killed us in the average. And it was us, the United States, temperatures. Check this out, 1.21 degree increase in the United States. So when you factor all these increase in temperatures, okay, we got one in the negative. That 1.21, when you average it in with the rest, that's huge. Had we stayed somewhere around the 7.5, the 0.57, the 0.61s, we'd still be talking about a rise. We're probably more in the lower 50s at that point. Maybe not even out of the 40s. So, before we get all hysteria about this warm September, you still have to look at the big picture, folks. And I know, but we still see a trend that is in the decline. Ever so slightly, but it's there. 6.3, 6.1. So we drop again. Do we see a pick of 0.4 before we get even lower? Who knows? But I want to give a huge shout out to Joe Bastardi. When we were at this point right here, Joe had said that he believes that the new plateau for temperatures is going to be right here. And look what's happening. They're not going up. They're not going down. They're staying right here for a little bit while. All right? And as this starts to go back down again, as we get into October and November and December, by the time we see it at winter values, it could be only here, which means he was right. From this area to here, he called this another step up in the plateau where temperatures are going to maintain. And that's what they're doing. So, I've followed Bastardi now for about 1.5 years. and he does fascinating work with everything natural weather phenomena to all the cycles, the oscillations, the MJO, AMO. He follows it all. I mean, and Joe puts everything together. So I remember when he told us where the new plateau is going to be, and I went, grand solar minimum, dude. But now, after about 9 months, 12 months after he said that, looking at the data, where he predicted temperatures to be at right now through the probably until what, February, when we get really cold, maybe that's when we'll start to see temperatures start falling below these levels. Joe was right. So sometimes you got to step back, even if it doesn't line up with what you're talking about. You know, if you're a channel that likes to harp about Ice Age and then you see this temperature reading of 0.61, you're probably not going to show it on your channel. Maybe you will. Maybe now, because you've been called out, and you should know that we report no matter what. That's what we do at this channel. Grand Solar Minimum News, our channel, is reporting on the Grand Solar Minimum. Each month we read these figures, no matter if they fit the agenda or not. Because there's always an explanation, and it usually takes the dedication to look at other scientific data to find those correlations. And I believe I just showed them to you. And, you know, you can say what you want. Well, it's still warming. The oceans are warm, and they did this to the temperatures. Yeah, they did. But the sun did it, and everything else that goes involved with it. It was all what? Natural. It was all natural. The sun warmed us, and the sun cools us as well. I know that sounds weird, but it has everything to do with when we warm and cool. The point of showing you the temperature was to also show you the temperature spike in the AMO. That just coincidentally follows along with all these temperature spikes in the UAH. To show you that this is all controlled by the sun. Okay? Which leads me into my last thing I want to mention tonight before we go into our weather report. Our what do you call it? So this video is called Donald Trump Did the Right Thing to Pull Us Out of the Paris Accord. And you guys need to listen to this. I'm going to turn my volume up a little bit, so I'm going to stop talking.
Came out Jairam Ramesh, one of the in India. Originally, if you go look at it, he said that the glaciers were not receding, and later on it was stated that the glaciers were receding. And in the
hang on, folks, that was in the middle of it.
With you, as I promised, why it was right for President Trump to exit from the Paris Accords. The presentation I'm going to give you is a very objective one. We need to recognize that many people are supporting the Paris Accords. If you ask them,
they'll probably
why should we have been in this? Give me one benefit. No one can really give it.
Nope, not gonna. I figured I'd try. Let's try one more setting. We're not muted, right? So
yeah, we are.
People can hear.
They can hear us.
Good. Right now, just to make it better. But sorry to interrupt. Let's try this real quick.
That's oh, it's unmuted.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give you guys a better sound
problems on this computer
for this.
With the
just do that. Oh, default, yeah.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to use the mic, unfortunately.
It stopped.
I've tried. Yeah, no, I've had a problem with that audio plugin for a while now.
And you know, it's funny too is that I'm getting issues now with the it's not playing. This sound, did you turn off the output on this?
Yeah, now everyone's
to exit from the Paris Accords. The presentation I'm going to give you is a very objective one. We need to recognize that many people who are supporting the Paris Accords, if you ask them, why should we have been in this? Give me one benefit. No one can really give any benefit. In fact, I haven't had anyone rationally explain even one benefit. What I'm going to explain to you very quickly here so everyone can understand in very simple ways is why it was important that Donald Trump got out of this, why it was essentially going to support an international collusion to basically support the polluting of our environment, and more importantly, to basically tax all of us, businesses, small businesses, big businesses, primarily a lot of small businesses, and every consumer here with a carbon tax. And it's a very simple exposition of this, and I hope I make it clear to you. And obviously, if you have questions, we're periscoping, you're welcome to join us. First of all, let me explain something very basic here. So in this circle, let's consider the fact that we have a lot of businesses here. These are businesses throughout the world. And these businesses, are producing different things. And let's assume these are typically manufacturing businesses. They take resources, raw materials, they process stuff, and out comes products from these businesses, which typically go to consumer. There are a lot of consumers here. This is, you and me over here. And we buy these products and we pay this company some dollar amount. Now, many of these companies, because of the manufacturing process, do put out carbon and CO2 into the environment. Let's call that broadly, pollution, okay? Pollution in the term of CO2, all right? So these are these greenhouse gases that they emit into the atmosphere. This is, let's call it before the Paris Accords. This is what's taking place. Again, businesses take resources, they create products, we buy them, and we pay some fee for them, and these businesses have been polluting. Now, has anything changed post the Paris Accords? And let's use the date 2030, as this is supposed to be an important date per the Paris Accords. So what happens here? Here again, I'm going to draw the same circle. We have the businesses, and let's put the year now 2030. And what occurs in 2030? These businesses still exist, let's say. Again, these are the businesses. And they are creating products, as I mentioned before, to us as consumers. Same situation. This is, again, you and me. And these consumers pay some fee for these products. And guess what? They're still polluting. And I'll give you some numbers on this. In fact, they're polluting a lot more, as we'll see. But something very interesting happens. For the pollution they do, they have to now pay an organization, which I'm going to call, in double quotes, the IPCC. And this group is composed of people like Al Gore, people like the Bushes, many people from the commodities market, and essentially a global elite in here, quote unquote scientists. A dollar goes here, dollars go in, and these people deliver these people something called carbon credits. And what this allows these companies to do now is to pollute, but in order to pollute, they have to pay this organization a fee, and this organization issues carbon credits. In fact, it gets even more interesting. These carbon credits, if you look at the commodities market, the global commodities market, these carbon credits are bought and sold here on this commodities market to people. And this generates the ability for this group to generate trillions, not billions, let me explain, trillions of dollars in new source of wealth. So these carbon credits were created by this group as a vehicle to essentially charge polluters something, and this group has the potential to make trillions and trillions of dollars. So how did this all happen, and what was the Paris Accords? Well, the front end for this entire organization, by the way, Al Gore substantially, at a certain point, monopolized, had access to a large number of carbon credits, which he had accumulated, and his goal was to have a payday by forcing these businesses in the future, around post-2030, to buy these carbon credits. And if you actually look at this, the IPCC's PR, I call it their PR machine, was what we call the Paris Accords. The Paris Accords was really their PR engine to get this out as though everyone needed to get on board. And what the U.S., if you look at the United States here, put the flag here, the U.S. Was being forced by the IPCC. By the way, this included establishment Democrats and establishment Republicans who were essentially telling the U.S. government that it needed to create what we call a green fund. And this green fund, and I'll explain what this was really about, the U.S. was going to have to put $100 billion into this green fund. And what was this $100 billion for? Well, remember, the countries who are polluting really didn't want to be part of this. They didn't really want to be part of the Paris Accords. Why? Because they have to pay fees to the IPCC. So how do you get them to be part of this? So if I do this over here, what I call the influencers of these countries, influencers of countries. So for example, if you take India, China, and you go down the list of what they call about 190 plus countries, remember all these people have influencers, so-called advisors. This $100 billion number was going to be funneled through different NGOs to essentially pay off, and in fact, people have already gotten agreements that if they join the Paris Accords, that they're going to get dollars funneled to them. This is why people were involved in this. In fact, some of the WikiLeaks stuff came out. Jairam Ramesh, one of the key advisors in India, originally, if you go look at it, he said that the glaciers were not receding. And later on, it was stated that the glaciers were receding. And in a recent email in WikiLeaks, he was actually thanking John Podesta for making all of this occur. So you have to really start thinking about what took place. But fundamentally, Trump wanted to exit this because I think Trump realized what was really going on. And what was really going on is this. The mafia of the IPCC was using the United States instrument, our Congress, our tax dollars, to funnel about $100 billion here. So we would pay off these people to join the Paris Accords. Now, let me just tell you, $100 billion is a relatively small amount because these guys were going to make trillions. So let me follow this through again so you get it. Businesses today are polluting. Just to give you an example, China today pollutes around 11 billion tons of carbon into the atmosphere. 11 billion tons of carbon. That's what they're doing today. By 2030, or between now and 2030, guess what? China's still allowed to pollute. In fact, China is allowed to go up to 22 billion tons, which means they're allowed to go 11 billion tons in carbon, which means they're going to pollute more. They're going to double their pollution during this period. No penalties. And that's how they got China to join. After 2030, there's going to be a big payday for these guys because they're going to be able to sell China carbon credits. I hope everyone's following. The bottom line is these set of 190, in many ways, so-called influencers and advisors, many of them essentially are waiting for the $100 billion payday, supported the Paris Accords because they're going to be paid. And that's how they force their countries' prime ministers and people to say, yeah, we got to join this Paris Accords. The reality is when you step back and look at this diagram, who really profits is who are going to make money on carbon credits as they fluctuate and rapidly grow in price post-2030. So a $100 billion payout to most of these corrupt officials, it's very well worth it for them because they're going to have 1,000%, 100 to 1,000% increase in profits. So fundamentally, what Donald Trump did was he saw the scam, which is what it is. And fundamentally, what this does is makes liberal bourgeois feel good that they're part of the Paris Accords. In fact, the MIT president has said, we have conclusive evidence that temperature has gone up. Let me just make it very clear that Hansen, the guy who came up with this temperature rating at NASA, during the 1950s to 1990, they used what they said was the average temperature, 1998. During that period, that's how they measured the average temperature. And they said the average temperature was 15 degrees Celsius. And they predicted in around 1988, that temperature was going to go up. So again, in 1988, papers are starting to come out saying the average temperature measured between 1950 to 1980 is 15 degrees. And they're saying, temperature is going to rise on the planet Earth. Well, what happens? By 1995, 1996, they find out the temperature actually, in fact, gone down a little bit. It was not going up. And somehow, mysteriously, around 2002, Hansen says, yes, the temperature has gone up. And how did he get it to go up? He got it to go up by saying that the average temperature is now 14 degrees. He actually changed the goalpost. Before it's 15, he said now it's 14, and he said we're measuring 14.64. So what they did was a complete lie, and in fact, this changing of the goalpost was done in an email. All of this is written in a beautiful article by Arvind Kumar in American Thinker called 14 is the New 15, or 14 is a New 15, exactly. So you should go read it by Arvind Kumar in American Thinker. He lays it out very beautifully. But the bottom line is, there is no conclusive evidence that the temperature has gone up. If you look at the facts, this entire process really profits this group. The reality is China is going to continue to pollute 2x, 200% more. India also gets to pollute from 2 billion to 4 billion. In fact, we're going to drop our carbon emissions from 5 billion to 4 billion. So this entire process is really a big racket. So all of us, when I go back to this, a consumer, guess what? In the future, we're actually going to pay more for products. Businesses are going to be charged more. So businesses are paying taxes. Each consumer's product is going to go up. These guys up here are the ones who are going to make money. So extremely good that Donald Trump pulled out of this. This was a patriotic thing to do. And we need to start really exposing the mainstream media and the elite academics who are all actually behind this. Thank you.
Finally, someone who was actually able to describe why and this one's going to get us censored. I know this, they'll probably limit this in probably like 2 states of the United States. But this right here, this is the playbook for the man-made global warming scheme. Did you guys hear what he said? Carbon credits? Carbon credits are fines that you pay that allow you to produce the carbon that you're producing now to make your money. In other words, if you pay us being the IPCC, money for carbon credits, well, then it's okay for you to emit CO2. That's why China does not participate in this treaty, because in 10 years from now, they're going to be making all the money because they're not facing all them being not part of this agreement. They make more money. Their taxes get bought out at the end, so they pay money for carbon credits, and the IPCC gets rich off of China, off of the United States of America, which, by the way, the IPCC is using their influence to force the United States government. Look at the Green New Deal. Look at the Democrats. Look at the people who are screaming up. They know what's at stake here, okay? And Trump is unraveling it all. He's taking their piggy bank away. He took the cork out, and he's shaking the money out right now. Meanwhile, you've got the left-wing media out there talking about hate Trump, and he's killing your future, and he's trying to kill you and your children because he doesn't care about the climate. No. He cares about this country. And he saw that the United States was the main country funding the green policies of the Paris Treaty. Guys, go look it up. Google Iran wants out of Paris Treaty if it doesn't get its payment. These countries, these 190 countries, signed up for this climate deal because they were promised money for it. And the IPCC with their carbon credits. So let's ask this question one more time, and I hope Greta's listening. If CO2 is the reason why that we are facing climate change, then why is the IPCC selling carbon credits to India and China to allow them to continue, if not only continue, but double the amount of CO2 they put in the atmosphere? If this was about saving the planet from catastrophe, why does the term carbon credit exist? This should open up everyone's eyes right here. This video, this VA Shiva, thank you so much. This man is brilliant. And my favorite part about him is he's not a white guy who went to Ivy League school. He's a man of color, a minority, not from this country, I would assume, but a well-spoken, intelligent man. And he's saying this is why Donald Trump did the patriotic thing by taking America out of the Paris climate deal. Because guess what, folks? Our United States government set up a fund under Barack Obama that was worth $100 billion to pay these other 190 nations to jump in. Meanwhile, we can drop $100 billion because the IPCC and the elite that are a part of the IPCC stand to make trillions. When I saw this today, and thank you again, Starman David Birch is the person that brought this video to my attention on Twitter today. Guys, we need to get to this man's Twitter feed, and you know, it looks like he.
Upload the video separate with all his details.
We'll upload the video separately with his details. Go to his Twitter page, follow this man. Very, very, very smart, very intelligent. And this was the best presentation that I've ever heard or seen to explain why so many people, like actors, musicians, politicians, people that have a lot of money, why are they protecting the global warming lie? Here's why, folks. To hear that already Al Gore has made hundreds of millions of dollars off of the global warming scare. He stands to make hundreds of millions of dollars off of the At Beyond Meat company because places like Burger King are already switching over their beef patties to Impossible Beef or whatever that Beyond Meat is called, the company that Al Gore will stand to make hundreds of millions of dollars off of that. And then on top of that, he's inside the IPCC and he's making money from that deal too. He's part of that organization. They're all getting paid, guys. Thanks to me and you, the suckers that buy into this crap and then do these climate strikes and get our kids involved and confuse them, all for the almighty dollar. And I made this point the other day on Twitter in my rant. But seeing Robert De Niro on CNN dropping the F-bomb multiple times. Folks, the reason why you're seeing Robert De Niro dropping F-bombs and Bill Nye dropping F-bombs about climate and Donald Trump, they're actors. They get paid to act. Musicians, they're entertainers. They get paid to entertain. If they write a political song, they get paid for it. They did their job. If an actor goes on national television and tells you what dire need it is that we stop the CO2 emissions because our children will die, that actor did its job because it got paid, and they don't care about anything but their own pockets. And that's what this guy just showed us tonight, is the greed, the globalism, and Trump wants to stop it. And meanwhile, the hate media has distracted the American public by calling him a racist and all these other horrible things, like he's colluding with the Russians and he's did something wrong with the Ukraine call. Look, shouldn't you folks be concerned about an organization that all had bias, that hated Donald Trump even before he got elected? Shouldn't that concern you? The people that are doing the investigation hate the person that's being investigated? Is that the country we live in? He is looking out for you and me. And hell yeah, he was right for pulling out of this Paris deal. I mean, this is beyond Ponzi scheme. Folks, I'm upset. I apologize for the rant. I'm upset. I couldn't quite put it into words on why the global warming. I knew there was money involved. I just thought it was for the grants at the universities. No, that's peanuts compared to what the IPCC is going to get for this Paris Treaty and the Green New Deal. And it's all about conforming, folks. It's all about conforming. Conform. It won't be as bad if you just conform. That's why they don't want to talk about grand solar minimum and cooling, because it takes away all that potential $1 trillion that they're going to make from this scheme. They've already pulled the wool over the majority of the folks' eyes. The people that are watching this tonight know better. And it's important that everyone shares this video tonight and show everyone how this Ponzi scheme is working, and it makes sense. Guys, we covered this when Trump first pulled us out of the treaty. I remember doing a show on this channel talking about that $100 billion slush fund for those countries that signed on to the treaty. And then how Iran, like months later, like, we want our money now, or we get out the treaty. And they didn't get their money, and I'm pretty sure last I heard they were pulling out. It's all about the money. There. I said it.
I love your accent. Thank you.
I said it. I'm done. We'll post a video with this man's video.
I'm clapping for you.
I'm clapping for him.
We had two brilliant, speeches there.
And I'm clapping for David. Thank you, my brother, David Birch from Another Mother. Two things he helped me today with. And I'll tell you, a wealth of information to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. He showed me the AMO and the spikes and that. And then today he brought this video to my attention just with a simple question. Hey, Jake, have you seen this? And when David asks me things like that, I have to watch it. I have to read it. I have to watch it. Because he just doesn't do things like, he just doesn't, what do you call it? Summon me on Twitter just to, waste my time. When David says, have you seen this? You better watch it. And again, thank you, sir, for pointing me in the right direction on that. And like I said, guys, I feel like the people that follow this channel, that contribute, it's family to me. And we're all doing this to look out for the good of each other. And if he finds something, he's going to share it with me. If I find something, I'm going to share it with him. And the number one goal is to educate people why they are lying so hard about CO2. This video answers all my questions about the schools, the professors. I'm showing everybody I know that video after the show tonight. All right. Let's move on. Weather, lots of it. And I'll tell you what, it's really chilly here in the Northeast tonight. Daytime highs were supposed to get to 66. They didn't make it past 56. My drive home at 6 o'clock, 6:30 was approximately 50 degrees. I know I live in upstate New York. I get it, but I'm just saying fall is here for sure. I'm not going to lie to you. The heat might be kicked on tonight. We're supposed to be in the lows of 35 degrees. I think that warrants some heating. But looking across the country right now, we got some slight chances for severe weather across Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and once again, Minnesota and Wisconsin is just getting pummeled with rain, more rain. Our friend Jesse out there in Wisconsin told us about the tornadoes he's having. It's weather-wise, it's a mess up there. We've seen lots of precipitation here lately, but I mean, look around the world. Where are we not getting precipitation at? Let's take a look at the GFS. This is the latest 18Z, or is it? No, this is not the one I want. Yes, it is. All right, I lied. So let's check it out, shall we? Checking out the rain through the rest of the week. Northeast, we get our continued chances all the way through the weekend. It's pretty much dry for the most part. I mean, compared to what we've seen all summer, this ain't too hateful. We do have snow chances once again in Montana, Wyoming, parts of Idaho. Showers and storms across the South in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, to be in particular. I just love it when I do this. The way you guys can see the wet bulb and all that stuff, huh? Anyway, so moving through the weekend, more rain for you guys in Wisconsin again. Jesse, watch out. Minnesota, North Dakota, across the Midwest into Illinois and Indiana and Ohio by the end of the weekend, Sunday. And then, of course, the Northeast will have its fair share of moisture. And boy, it looks like this low pressure system is attracting more moisture from the Gulf and the tropics here as we move to Monday, October 7th. Line of thunderstorms moving through the Midwest into the East Coast. These could be severe in certain areas. And then high pressure settles in Tuesday. This is probably one of the best looking days other than Washington and Oregon. Might have chances for snow and heavy rain, especially Washington. And then Alberta, once again, getting hit with heavy snow midweek next week. And that will spill into Montana as well. Now, we're not going to see anything near what we just had in September 29th, but a good 3 to 5 inches could be possible in some elevations and lower elevations as well. And then we got an interesting setup by late next week. More severe heavy rain coming to the area. Minnesota, Wisconsin, once again, getting pummeled. This time on the northern tip, you guys will see heavy snow. and colder air following in behind that, as this system will push across the Midwest into the East Coast by Friday, October 11th. High pressure tries to settle in once again, and it does for a couple of days, stays dry, but more low pressures coming in from the Northwest through Montana, more snow. Same with Wyoming and Colorado into the Rockies. Again, we're looking at snow across the Central Plains by the middle of October. So Colorado, get the shovels ready, you're next. And then again, another line of storms that goes from Texas all the way to Michigan will move through early October 14th, 15th, 16th. Again, it acts like, the GFS acts like that this low pressure system is just absorbing moisture that's coming in from the tropics and the Gulf. This storm pushes off, and then we have a little issue to deal with in the Gulf. Now, first and foremost, this is a massive system. It's all the way through Nova Scotia, all the way past the Florida Keys. So even if we don't have a hurricane, there's a few people out there speculating, where my little location is that we will be looking at a Cat 5 hurricane by middle of October hitting Florida. Okay, so there's no evidence of that, but there is evidence of plenty of rain moving over the Central Plains, Midwest, and East Coast over and over for the next 2 weeks. And this last system that moves through is a little concerning, because it is bringing lots of heavy rain through Florida. But this is going to be probably the deepest dip in our cold front that we see, and it's early. And I want to bring up temperatures for this time. All right, these are daytime highs. Yep. So daytime highs, that low pressure system. I mean, check this out. By mid-October, these are more like fall-like temperatures. 40s and 50s across the northern plains. 50s across Ohio. That's a little off. It's usually in the 60s this time of year. A little warmer up here in the capital region, but when we go back a little bit, just to kind of give you, this is where we are now. Obviously, we're not going to have that heat anytime soon. Cold front moving through as we speak right now. We are starting to get some relief across the Central Plains into the Midwest. It was 90 degrees yesterday in Dayton, Ohio. Now you're looking at daytime highs in the mid-60s, which is beautiful. I know my brother is enjoying it. This is perfect football weather. October 4th, Friday, all the high school teams, if you live Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, the whole northern plains, the central part of the country, the Northeast, the Northwest, this is absolute gorgeous fall weather. Right on time. But look at that cold air spilling in on the Northeast and the Northwest. And all I can think about is all the volcano eruptions that we've had, folks, and how close we're getting to getting these really big eruptions. Here we are, October 8th. By the way, just want to let you know, all the 80s and 90s are in Florida and Arizona, where they should be. The rest of the country is going to be fall-like conditions. So by October 8th, if you don't have fall-like conditions, you will. And then we get another dose of colder air moving through the United States on October 10th. Boy, look at this. On the 10th, look at the overnight lows on the 10th. We see some purples up here in Alberta. That's cold. Teens. October 10th, folks. But look at the contrast of temperatures. I mean, what's very upsetting about this overnight low here is that we're talking about harvest, and we haven't seen crops go all the way full mature yet. So this is a big problem here as we get towards the middle of October. We start to see more comfortable like fall temperatures, but then in my opinion, it kind of gets cold here towards the middle of October. When you have daytime highs that are reaching the 40s and 30s across the Rockies, another warm front tries to make its way up the East Coast. Some ridging going on here by mid-month of October, but that's going to be it, guys. That's the last push we get for any kind of warm weather. As you see here, that cold front gets further and further south. Look at that. High temperatures in the low 60s in northern Mississippi. Overnight lows can possibly see the mid-40s. That's what they get in the wintertime, not in October. So the cold is coming, and we're, all we could do is report on this. We can't predict it, obviously. I think the Roy Spencer work shows everyone why you have to be patient and you have to take everything into consideration. Like the work here of Starman, how he has done a great job of lining up these temperature peaks here in the AMO and matched it up with the satellite data of the surface temperatures as well. So the sun and the ocean control everything. We've always said that, and we'll always continue to say that, folks. That's just our motto here at the Grand Solar Minimum. Report the truth. Mara, would you like to come over here and say hello to everybody as I show off our weather maps across the world?
I can do that.
Awesome.
I am typing away here. I'm busy trying to get that excellent video that you played uploaded. So after the show, that video should be...
It does need to go viral.
It should be uploaded. Hopefully, we'll see here. That's what I've been working on. So, first off, I'd like to thank everyone who did a super chat today. That's very kind. SoulQuest did one super chat saying Jake and Murray for the win, and then just did another one twice as big and said get her done.
Man, thank you so much.
Just, it's very humbling. You know, I have no words. Just thank you. And then Doug Ellens also, thank you very much for the super chat. You guys are great.
Usually I don't say Michigan on the air, but thank you, sir. I will say Michigan tonight, being a Buckeye and all.
Brian, I'm gonna butcher your last name, so I'm not gonna say it. Brian A. His uncle said they had waves of 18 meters or 60 feet
Jeez.
in the Azores Islands. Am I pronouncing that right?
I said Azores, so I don't know. It could be wrong. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but listen, BP Earthwatch did a video, and they're reporting 71 feet.
Wow.
So that, I believe, if his uncle's saying 62, I believe that because there's reports as high as 71
I have to look
feet.
for some footage and see.
Could you imagine a 71-foot wave?
Just, I mean, terrifying. But he also put, I guess there's quite a bit of damage in Fayal and Flores Islands, roofs blown off. At least one boat that moves people between the islands was destroyed. And they'll know more once the boats get up or something. So definitely keep us updated with what is going on, what your uncle's seeing there. It's some crazy stats. I mean, you said 71
feet.
Well,
yeah.
We'll have to look that up. And
I wanted to check it out. We've been a little busy tonight. I didn't get a chance to research that. But BP, I mean, usually he's pretty... I don't think he sensationalizes on purpose if he does. So, you know, BP or
I've been watching him for a long time. Jesse, he does a good job trying to report the best he can. He's done a lot of good for YouTube community when it comes to helping people like us squash crazy YouTube conspiracies. Yeah. So, yeah, I like Jesse. He's a good guy. I want to say hi to all of our mods. Good seeing Cheryl and Matt, and who else is in the chat? Thor was someone that people were saying they absolutely love in the chat, and he hasn't been in the chat at the evening shows for
Arthur.
Yeah, Arthur.
Arthur in Maine, not that other Thor.
Not that other Thor.
Not that other.
There's many Thors.
There's many Thors, but Arthur in Maine.
Arthur is, Thor. In
Great
Maine.
Great guy.
People have been missing you, Thor, so chop chop, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, you might be
Wednesday,
busy.
Friday. You gotta pop in one of these days and say hi to us at nighttime. It's the right time. Anything else, Jake?
I'm good if you're good.
Yeah, the pop-up on the site, I'm not gonna have a pop-up there all the time. It's just we have a lot going on with my dad's house, and we're just trying to make the final push to try to keep things and make things happen. So I'll take it down in October, Jake, I promise.
It is October.
But I love these beanies. And
yeah, I mean, it's silly, but I mean, that's what I want for Christmas.
I fought with Teespring for 2 months on embroidery designs for beanies, and I gave up on them. I was like, you know what? If you can't do this, if you can't communicate properly, I'm going to go somewhere else and get these beanies made. So I found another vendor that quickly allowed me to design these beanies and get them digitized for them to be embroidered, and that they use,
the coffee mug changes color when you pour hot liquid into it. I know. I'm just like a simple kid here.
So I tried to organize that site so you can see we do have stickers. A lot of people have been asking for stickers.
We got some cool looking hoodies.
Mel, actually, I have to respond back to Mel. Mel's the gentleman who put the big decal on his van. He's offered to get bumper stickers. I don't know. We have to give him a call. He gave us his number, so we're gonna call Mel and see if we can get some regular bumper stickers for awareness. We'll see. But that's all I have.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, Mari.
That also has all our other websites too. I promised that people could see. There's at least one.
Oh wow! So we're everywhere, folks. We tried to, and
that's not even all. Of our
and we're making
a
plan just in case if we have to. Who knows what's going to happen to Google? Who knows?
I just listened to your rant and listened to the video prior to your rant. How important this information is, and just the fact that YouTube already, we know what side this platform's on.
Well, they're part of the elites.
You've seen the spicy Mari rant against Google Camp and all that. I can guarantee you this live stream is limited right now, Jake.
Sure. Who cares? We had a great crowd tonight. I saw well over 200 people watching, so that's good. That many people, and there was people commenting tonight that I've never seen before, because what this man was saying was striking a nerve with all of us. He was telling us in a way that we could understand that this is a scheme. The IPCC, the Green New Deal, it's all about lighting the pockets of the elites. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a morning update, and we'll be live once again with another Grand Solar Minimum news update Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Be there, be square. I'm sure Mario will start up another live chat session tomorrow, so you guys could get together and talk about whatever you want to talk about, like we always do. It's a good family atmosphere in our chat room, so I do appreciate you guys participating in that as well. All right, that's going to do us for us tonight. We will talk soon, guys. Have a great evening.